Welcome to the Career Change Podcast, where you'll discover the frank and practical advice and resources that are already proven to work in the real world when it comes to changing careers or figuring out what business is right for you when you are a smart but likely also stuck, overwhelmed, or overthinking person in your mid-30s, your 40s, your mid-50s. I'm your host, Rikke Hansen, a career change advisor, entrepreneur, and former corporate HR professional with over 15 years experience of helping thousands of people just like you identify or create careers or businesses that are both meaningful and future-proof. Welcome home. Hey, it's Rikke here, and welcome to episode 13 of the Career Change Podcast. Let's talk about why you haven't changed careers or started that business yet. This episode is specifically for you if you've been wanting to change careers for quite a while, likely at least a year or two or more, but it hasn't happened yet. Let's make sure this is the year when it actually does. If you're the person who only just decided to make a change in the last couple of months, then you might want to pick another episode, or you can keep listening so you can learn what it really requires to not keep faffing about, but to actually get serious about your transition and make it happen much faster. Now, I'm recording this episode in January 2021, but it doesn't really matter when you listen. This information will remain just as relevant no matter when you listen. Why? Because we humans, we just have such a nasty tendency to self-sabotage and get in our own way consistently. Have you noticed? So it's the start of a year. Like I mentioned, now as I'm recording this, it's the start of a new year. So you're probably inundated with ads and posts about New Year's resolutions and special gadgets and planners, vague add-ons, things to add on top of what you're already doing. But let me be really frank with you. When it comes to career change or starting the right business, when you are a smart person in your mid-30s to your mid-50s, you will most often, or actually consistently, get the fastest and most concrete results and changes by first looking at and getting really honest about what you actually need to stop doing and change first, rather than just adding some faffy resolution or vague goal onto a foundation that is already shaky. There's no point in, as an analogy, there is no point in you starting to go to the gym in an effort to get really healthy if you also don't look at and get honest about the fact that you're stuffing your face with pizza and donuts and you're only getting 5 hours sleep at night. You get my point, okay? I'm always about how can we go from vague to concrete. There are things that all of my clients who've changed careers or started the right business, they have in common. And there are elements that are really important to get right so they can keep going until they get the results they want. And I can tell you that it's not faffy resolutions or vague goals or a special gadget or planner. Rather, here's what I recommend and what I know works. My clients who made the transition a reality, they were committed to having just one priority for the year ahead. And they were absolutely clear about what their kryptonite was, i.e. kryptonite, those buffering, avoidance, procrastination patterns that people fall into consistently instead of spending the time working on their career or their business. And they know how to handle it when it pops up. And most importantly, they had committed upfront to making their career transition happen no matter what. They committed upfront to making their career change happen no matter what, instead of letting whatever might be happening in the world dictate what they were committed to or distracted by. I'm sure you know where I'm going at, right? This has never been more important than right now. We live in a world where the speed of change is never going to get any slower than it is right now. There are never going to be less distractions or things that are going to require your attention. This is the territory now. And here's the thing, things will keep changing. But guess what you can control? Your commitment and your priority, which is why it's key to make those up front. To commit to figuring out what you want, to commit to figuring out how to make it happen, and to make it your number one priority. Because here's the thing, without a commitment, without a clear priority, you are just going to faff about and get distracted by whatever is going on in the world on that day. Just think back over the last year about all the things you probably have gone distracted by, right? You get my point. Now is the time to develop adaptability rather than hoping for things to go back to normal. I think we all know by now that is just not going to happen. This is the way, change is the only constant. Something else will pop up. COVID-19 was just one thing, as extreme as it is, but we live in the age of acceleration and massive change. That is not going to go away. Technological change, market change, workplace change, climate change. There's just going to be something else coming at you. Don't let things distract you. Don't get into the habit of putting things on hold. As intimidating and scary as all kinds of changes can seem, let's look at how to get the best out of it, how to grow through this, to learn in real time. Adaptability is a key future-proofing skill, and it's also a key skill for changing careers, for starting that business, which you will be doing several times throughout your lifetime. So let's get good at it. So rather than keep starting and stopping and starting and stopping and being distracted by outside events that are likely out of your hands anyway, now is the time that you can learn how to be flexible with your plans and timeline, but not with your priority or with your commitment. Because no matter what happens in the world, you can always control your commitment to your career change. Remember that. No matter what's going on in the world, what is within your control is your commitment to your career change, to that business you want to create. But how committed are you really to your transition? That's a whole other question, right? Let's focus this on you personally. Let's make sure this is the year you finally get your ass in gear and create meaningful and engaging work. I want this so much for you too. That's why I'm doing this podcast. Let's go. Let me ask you a really frank question. How long have you been wanting to change careers or to start your own business? How many years? Whenever I host career change webinars or group Q&As, or when people get in touch to ask about working with me, this is often one of the first questions I ask. How long have you actually wanted to make a change for? And it never ceases to amaze me how many people will tell me, 10 years plus or always. But then also a lot of people might be 2 to 3 years, but it's rarely less than a year. And here's the thing, most of my clients are over 35, so they should really feel the urgency of a ticking clock. They should not want to stay stuck in a scenario that makes them happy. This is it. Let's turn your age into an actual motivational factor. But how about you? How long have you been wanting to make a change? Maybe you feel like you fell into your current line of work, your current profession, and maybe you even knew deep down from the work, from the moment you almost started that it wasn't really for you, but then life happened and there were the golden handcuffs, whatever it might have been in your case. Or maybe you're someone who used to like it, but over the last couple of years, things have changed and you've fallen out of love with it. Or maybe you're just at the stage where you realize you need to scratch that entrepreneurial itch, whatever it is. And then COVID happened, right? And suddenly, like most people, you might have been forced to work from home when there isn't the distraction of other people in the workplace. And suddenly you realize, oh my God, I really hate this. And then there is no escape. It's stuck at home with you. That's when you really realize how important it is that you love the work that you do and it challenges you the right way. So like I say, I bet you probably wanted to change even before COVID-19 hit, right? So how come you haven't made your transition into a new career or the right business a reality yet? That's what we want to talk about. But just think about that for a second, right? You wanted to change even before COVID. So what is it that keeps getting in the way? Let's identify it. I call it the kryptonite. You need to be so aware of what is the kryptonite that you keep sabotaging yourself with whenever you actually do have that time available that you could spend on your career change, on your business, but instead you choose to blow it on something else. Let's get really clear about what that kryptonite, that something else is. We'll start by doing an exercise that one of my clients called Rikke on your shoulder. So Rikke on your shoulder exercise in terms of helping you identify your kryptonite. So imagine if I'd followed you around, I was sitting on your shoulder, so to say, over the last 12 to 24 months, or however long that you've been wanting to change careers or start the right business, if I've been sitting on your shoulder and followed you around on a day-to-day basis over the last 12, 24, however many months, would it be crystal clear to me that your career transition, that your business was your number one priority consistently on a week-by-week basis, a monthly basis, quarterly basis? Would it be easily observable for me that your career transition was your number one priority? And remember, I am outside of your head. I'm not inside of your head. So from the real world, would it be observable? Overthinking is not prioritizing, okay? I know you probably spend a lot of time thinking about it or overthinking or, whatever, or getting overwhelmed. That's not what we're talking about. Real actions in the real work concretely. Did you consistently invest time, money, and energy on your transition? Were you consistent? Did you stay focused? Did you get real clarity, real results? Did you have momentum? Or would I observe that it was consistently pushed aside by other things, that even when you had the time available, even the small pockets of times, you decide to blow it on something else? You started, you stopped, you started, you stopped, you started, you stopped with your transition. But most of the time, you were kind of in stop mode. If your answer is, honestly, no, Rikke, it would have been obvious that my transition wasn't my number one priority by the way I spent the time that I had available for it, that it would not be easily observable, it was constantly put aside, then that is why you haven't changed, why you haven't started that business, why you're still stuck in that work scenario you hate. So let's identify the kryptonite that kept blowing your career change, your business efforts out of the water. Let's do another concrete exercise. Let's identify your kryptonite. What I want you to do is I want you to mentally think through and get your calendar out if you have a tendency to write down what you spend the time on. And then let's identify your kryptonite. Review the last 12 to 24 months. Where did your available outsider work and commitments you can't negotiate on, where did your time, money, energy, and resources go most consistently? If it wasn't your career transition that you spend time on most consistently, those small pockets of times that we all have available that we can invest or career change efforts in, what was it that kept going into those pockets of time that accumulatively could have resulted in your career change or your business, but instead you stuff those pockets of time with something else? What is the kryptonite that most consistently stole your dream? Let me get clear about something here. 2020 was a wonky year, which is why I want you to look back further. So kryptonite is not when your child's school was cancelled and you had to spend a lot more time on childcare, or if you got COVID, or if you had an illness, or something that was a totally valid thing that you needed to prioritize. What we are talking about is the buffering things you do, the distraction things you do, the procrastination tendencies you have that you keep falling into and wasting your time on, those pockets of time that you do have available instead of working on your career change or your own business, right? So for most people, definitely for my kind of clients, it tends to be stress scrolling, social media gobbling, news gobbling. The news wants you to think that every new development is your problem right now and you have to deal with it, right? That's why it's so dangerous. Might have been Instagram, Facebook, online shopping, Netflix, over-drinking, overeating, and also back when we could travel, I don't know when you listen to this, weekends away or escapes away. So rather than actually spending the time solving your problem, you go away on another trip abroad and spend the time on that and then on recovering from that rather than spending the time on your career transition. I see a lot of people do this. It's like they'll look at the calendar. Oh, then I was in Paris, I was in Brussels, I was in America, rather than actually taking some of that time towards your career transition. Also what I see, and this is something I often have this conversation with my friends, they spend a lot of time on personal development books or courses. But There's nothing wrong with personal development if it helps you change careers, but a lot of the time they spend is just fluffy self-development. That's really procrastination in disguise because it doesn't easily translate into something they can use in their real life, in their business or their career change. So just read one more book to make themselves feel good, but at the end of the day, they don't do anything about it. You know what I'm saying, right? What are the things that maybe the 2 or 3 things that you consistently do that keep stealing away the time that you really ought to have spent on your real career change dreams, on that business instead? And I don't think the good thing about a year like 2020 or like COVID-19, I'm always big on looking at what is the gift, how can you use this positively? If you didn't know what your kryptonite was before 2020, then now you will, because COVID was literally like a magnifying glass. Whatever buffering, distraction, or procrastination tendencies you used even before 2020, they would just have been magnified and blown up if you didn't control them. So it should be relatively easy for you to nail down what your kryptonite is. Those things that keep stealing away. Again, like I said, not the things that really truly were things that you needed to attend to because they were one-off things, but the things you consistently sabotage yourself with. Be really honest. When people are like, oh, but I wanted to change for a while, but it hasn't happened. This is what we look at identifying so you can stop doing it. What I want you to do is I want you to write down what your 1 to 3 biggest buffering, avoidance, procrastination tendencies are. What are those 1 to 3 kryptonites that you keep, that you keep sabotaging yourself with? Because going back to the theme of this episode, they are why you haven't changed careers or started your own business yet. And you know what's really sad about most kinds of kryptonite? They have no return on investment for you. So they don't even make you feel better. They actually, all of the kryptonite, whatever it is that you use to sabotage or distract or procrastinate with, they don't even give you a return on investment, right? They just make you feel worse. They make you trust yourself less. They make you less confident. And that's why they're so dangerous. How you spend your time, those pockets of times that we all can make available to our transition, how you spend them, no matter how little that time bubble is, it is so key, because how you spend your time most consistently when it comes to those pockets will show you what your true priority is. And here's the truth when it comes to what it really takes to change careers or to start the right business. If you want to change anything in your life, you need to change something in your life. Daily, weekly, monthly. Let me say that again because it is so key. If you want to change anything in your life, you need to change something in your life. Daily, weekly, monthly. Consistency is the most important factor when it comes to nailing your transition. So you need to exchange that kryptonite because here's the thing with kryptonite, you've probably been super consistent, right? You kept scrolling, you kept gobbling up your Instagram, you kept doing all the distraction stuff. So that is the result you would have gotten as a result. We need to start replacing what you most consistently do, i.e. use those pockets to spend that time to create that career change, to create that business, instead of defaulting to kryptonite. So let's flip how you spend those valuable pockets of time. And it all comes down to what you prioritize, what you replace that kryptonite with. And here's what I recommend. If you want to make your transition a reality this year, you can only have one priority this year outside of your work commitments and those commitments we all have in life. You can only have one priority this year. Here's how you nail this. You decide that you're going to put yourself and your transition first. Because here's the deal. Kryptonite is rarely about you or your dreams, is it? So what you want to do instead is you want to decide and commit ahead of time. That means right now, you want to decide and commit right now to make your transition your number one and only priority this year. We'll get that in a second. Or what will happen is you will risk letting everything and everyone else become your default priority, which I'm sure you've noticed over the last couple of years, especially the last year. I'm always very keen to look at words linguistically. I speak 5 languages, so I often find that language is so powerful when it comes to making progress. And the thing about priority is that what it really means, that the root of the word means very first or prior thing. It is what you do before anything else. So that's all it means. It doesn't mean you can't do other things. It just means that it's a priority. It comes first before everything else. So with the pockets that you have available, your career transition comes first. Then once you've done that, you can do the other things. And also, even more importantly, I'm really big on just having one priority. Here's why. Again, linguistically, did you know that priority used to be a single noun until 1940? It was only in the 1940s that it became plural. So priorities did not exist before 1940. It was just priority. Let's bring it back so you don't get confused. You have one priority for those pockets of time this year. Again, doesn't mean you can't do anything else. It just means it comes first, very prior thing before anything else. You decide, you commit ahead of time to make your transition the most important commitment this year. Forget about vague freaking resolutions. What this means is that you plan ahead and you set yourself up for success. So when those pockets of time are there, you know what to spend them on first before anything else, consistently. Again, like I say, this does not mean that you can't do other things or you can't do some of the kryptonite, but you do it, they come second or third, or they're put on the back burner for now. This is really important for those of you who tend to maybe overwhelm yourself or have way too many projects or things you want to do. Don't stretch yourself too thinly. You can still have several projects, but be really clear about what is the number one project this year. Because if not, you're just going to keep blowing things out of the water and get nothing done. One priority for 2021, and it is your transition. And remember, it's something you're committed to up front. I really want you to get this, because this is something I don't see being spoken about very much. People tend to sort of think, oh yeah, I will make a resolution and see how that works out. No. That's why you still haven't changed. You commit up front and then you make it happen no matter what. That is the difference. That's why I oh my God, almost like come out in hives when I hear the word resolution. It's so bloody vague. Okay. So again, you can still watch Netflix or scroll media or go on escape trips or read the self-development books, but only once you've done the work on your priority first. And here's something that really empowers me and I know I've empowered my clients. They love this question. Whenever you feel the phantom limb of your mobile phone or whatever it is that your kryptonite is, when you feel that coming on, then ask yourself this question. What would make me feel most powerful right now? What action would make me feel most powerful right now? And I can tell you, it will never be your kryptonite because your kryptonite does not empower you. What will make you feel more powerful is just doing that one thing on that transition that you promise yourself you do. Even if it's 25 minutes, it's the consistency that over time matters. And then you can go and do whatever you want to do. So forget about vague resolutions or vague intentions. And you don't need another fluffy gadget or fluffy planner. You need to get honest about what you are most consistently doing that steals your time, your energy, and resources away from your career change, your own business, doing those time pockets that you do have available. And then you commit to changing that. You commit to having one priority and one commitment. We're looking for fierce commitment to make sure you don't get to the end of another year and not having made that change. Write this down. I commit to making my career transition my number one priority this year. One priority and a commitment up front. Commit, and this will be the year your transition happens. It'll be inevitable. I've got loads of things lined up to help you do all of this. So make sure you are on the mailing list for the Career Change Podcast. You could find that over at the careerchangepodcast.com. Sign up for the mailing list there. Got loads of good stuff coming. We'll talk a lot about what to do with those pockets of time, how to make sure your transition happens. But remember, there is no such thing as a perfect time to change careers or start a new business. And that's not going to change going forward. The perfect time is when you commit to your transition. You commit to making it the perfect time. What makes career change and new businesses happen is a commitment up front, no matter what's going on in the world, and having one solid, clear priority for the year. So don't put your dreams on hold. This is it. Remember this. No matter what's going on in the world, what you can always control is your commitment. And commitment is what matters most at the end of the day when it comes to creating meaningful and future-proof work and to learn to trust yourself and to empower yourself. So control the heck out of your transition this year. If you're finding this helpful, then please share the Career Change podcast with at least one friend who also needs this kind of concrete advice. And if you personally, you want more concrete advice, you want actually frameworks for how do you step-by-step go about changing careers or figuring out what business to start, then I've got more available for you over the careerchangepodcast.com. So I'll see you over there. Now, next time you are tempted, when you have that pocket of time available to go down that kryptonite hole, then ask yourself, what would make me feel most powerful right now? And then act accordingly. That is how your transition will happen this year. It'll become inevitable. The way that you choose, that you commit, that you prioritize will make it inevitable. All right? I'll see you over at the careerchangepodcast.com. Thank you.